And good morning, welcome to the PM Show, your weekly roundup of what's new and going on in the modelling world. Good morning, Matt. How are we doing this morning?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm very well, yes, been pushing on very nicely.
Good.
As I say, summer is here, the sun is shining. It was around about 15 degrees yesterday, supposed to be a bit more today, topping out about 18, they reckon, Thursday.
Yeah, 18, 19 we've got forecast up here. We had a very nice fog when I woke up this morning all over, but that's obviously going to burn off with the weather. But yeah, so
Yes.
our weekly weather report, it's getting warmer.
Summer's coming, everybody. It's fine. It's all good. We can soon open windows and breathe fresh air instead of the smell of, we were just discussing, thinners or 3D printers and all the other nice smells we're being contaminated with.
Yeah.
So, yes, remember your spray booths. If you can afford them, like we said before, doesn't matter if it's a 40 quid one or a 400 quid one, get one. Trust me, they're a game changer and it's very, very good for your health.
Absolutely, I can
You
recommend
don't want to be breathing in this junk.
after last night of spraying some lacquers and yes, waking up with a bit of a headache, shall we say, this morning. Even though
You've got the hangover without the pleasure.
I did have all the gear on, it weren't, but obviously it does linger a little bit when you're cleaning out and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit. I ain't done it for a long time actually. Not lacquers. I've been kind of switching to acrylics a little bit, but because I was doing that car bit on the car that I showed yesterday. It needs. I needed to spray some.
It is that thing. I'm terrible for it because I literally go nose blind because I spray a lot every week, basically. But as I said to Matt just before we came on, my partner came home the other day and it was like, "Oh, that smells." First time she's ever said it, so I knew it was bad. But I've been spraying the Hornet, and it's a big lump to do. So you're whacking down coat after coat after coat, and so even with the extractors all going, you still need to get the old windows open as well afterwards and get a bit of fresh air blow through, and make sure you leave your, like I do, literally if I'm doing a big spray job, obviously you keep the doors shut because we only want it going one way, but I'll literally leave the extractors, both of them running for half hour, and I'll just go out. I'll go off and do some editing, and all the rest of it to let it go through. Then when I come back, open up the windows, get a bit of a through air as well, to get it all out, because it's not nice stuff, let's face it.
No, like you say, my sort of sense of smell and thing have come back now. Obviously, from years of working with a lot of solvents, I was like you. I never smelt it. It must have been God. I dread to think.
That's working with, not abusing.
Yes, working with. And obviously now not doing it anymore. It's you do smell it a lot more. You do. I'd smell it when I go and see like where my old place was when I go and see Joe's taking it over. I went down and he's got like my old, what used to be my office, but he keeps his paints and all stuff away, mixing. Oh my God, in there and I'm like, back out again. Oh, no.
Definitely.
Like, can't smell anything. I'm like,
That's because you've got nose blind to
good.
it. Yes.
He's got a full respirator on, but so.
Go in there with a budgie.
It would be, but as for PM stuff, it's another quiet week. We have literally, like I think I mentioned it yesterday, I had a LP delivery, so we nearly got everything back in stock.
So the LPs, we're talking about the Tamiya's?
Tamiya LPs, yes.
Lacquer paints.
So I think there's about 3 that we've not got in stock. So might be 4 now because somebody just wiped me out. So, but I think I've got a load come in, so I've got to put an order together to have a restock. So hopefully they're gonna now be consistent, shall we say?
Yes. I must admit I do like Tamiya lacquer paints. Last thing is obviously little things, but they're number 5, which is LP5 semi-gloss black. I think it's the best colour ever because I use it for anything on aircraft. Like this is LP5 for the black work on here, and it is such a nice colour. It's a proper. It's not too shiny. It's not too matte. It's just exactly what you want. And I tell you the other one. The first time I used that in Angers, when I used it on the big truck, I did that 16th scale Kenworth. The chassis, I did it all in LP5, and it looks just like a brand new chassis, from the factory finish. It's a really, really good colour.
Like I say, for a semi-gloss or satin, it is actually a semi-gloss. Not like you say, proper. Some of them can be too matte and some of them can be too shiny. That one is just, it's got the sweet spot as it is, semi-matte black.
It's one of my all-time favourite colours. I remember spraying it for the very first time and thinking, that's fantastic. So I always used to use like XF85 Tamiya.
Yes.
which is that sort of rubber black, which I quite like it because, as I say, I don't like black. I find it too strong. So, you know, as you say, it was always the one to go to. So, you know I often say don't use black, don't use white, but that's one of those ones because it's got a nice, yeah, it's a proper satin. I think it's the only one that I've ever sprayed which is a proper, where you can get away with using a black properly. So and since then I've gone through gallons of the stuff because it's my go-to black colour. So very
Well,
nice.
did you ever think to X18? Because that's the other equivalent of semi-gloss satin black, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit, no, I've got it up there. I've got a jar of it, which is showing it's very aged now because it's got the old label on it. But yeah, I've never been a mass thing to that one either. I don't think it. I don't know. It just seems to dry because obviously this is a pure gloss, isn't it?
No, that's
really.
satin.
I know it says it's a satin, but if you put like lacquer thinners with it, it goes very, very.
Is it like X1?
Almost pretty close. It's more. I would say it's more on the gloss side than it is on the satin side.
Right.
So, you know, that's one of those ones. So I was never a mass user of it.
Do you know,
Good backup.
you know, obviously with LP5 and X18, and obviously you know, on the screen is LP3, and you know, if you're going down the pure black route, you're not going off to the grey spectrum.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of variation because of the shine or non-shine.
Yes.
I'm thinking more like for the car modelers rather than obviously the aircraft. Well, I mean, I suppose you can get away with it with aircraft because obviously we always say avoid black and avoid white, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, unless obviously you are doing a black, you know, shiny something. But I'm thinking like obviously with that LP5 and LP1, LP3, which is obviously the three blacks in their range, you're going to get different sort of textures and perspectives of black, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Because I've used their LP1. I love to use for black basing for shiny stuff.
Yeah,
so because it's not so much for the black colour, but it's got a beautiful finish. And the last time I used it in Ango, obviously with the B17, we did the B17 with it all, and it went down so well that a lot of people thought I put a wash over it.
Yes.
Because it was on the riveting, you could see the reflections on the side of the riveting detail, so it made it look like a different colour. And it wasn't, it was just completely gloss black, and I look at it, but the photos sort of and the video showed it as looking like it had a wash, but it was actually just where it was picking up the highlights on the curves of all the rivets. And it's really nice, but again, it's simple to use. You know, you sort of go in there probably with more of a 60% mix to thinners to paint. So obviously 60% thinners, 40% paint, nice low air pressure. You put it down, nice wet coat going down. It doesn't run, it goes, it dries really quickly, and it's got a beautiful finish to it. And it's just really nice stuff to work with. So again, I like it when it's simple.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, simple things for simple folk.
Absolutely, that's me to a T. So, but again, it's one of those sometimes that, you know, you'll find a particular product, and like we said before, and you know, I know I say it all the time, but it's one of those ones where you don't have to be pigeonholed. You don't have to use all the LP range, but they do a couple of really nice ones, and that's the thing to it. So whilst I've got, you know, about 6 manufacturers of paint here, you know, I have my favourites for particular jobs. So if I wanted to do gloss black, for instance, I'd use LP1 every time. You know, and obviously if I wanted to use that sort of satin black type of thing, then LP5 is definitely my way to go. You know, and obviously their LP2 for gloss white is beautiful as well, really straightforward. But other manufacturers I use for all the other types of colours and things like that. So it's nice to have your own favourites of each type. You don't need to have the entire ranges, just the ones you use a lot of and you get on well with is the way to go.
Yeah, stick with it. What I want to mention is if you go to the bottom, there's 2 new colours in the range that we've never really discussed. There, look, LP79 and LP8. Oh, and LP78, so they've done a flat blue, a flat red, and a flat yellow, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
We've just had the LP79 in. We had the LP18 before the 79. But the 79's come in, so yes. So they've now, you know, added the
one that they are missing, though, I don't know if they've done it, is obviously you get a clear yellow and a clear blue, and you get a clear red,
and a
but
clear
I don't think you get a clear green.
You get a clear orange.
Yeah, but you don't do a clear green though, do they?
No, just go up. No, I don't think they do a clear green. No.
Well, I say not as far as I'm aware of it, because I say I've got their clear red here and all the rest of it, but yeah, it's because obviously if you're doing lights, navigation lights on aircraft, that's why I was thinking for it, because I do use their other ones, But as I say, they've never done the clear green,
Yeah,
which
they've
is a
got
bit
clear
weird.
blue. There's clear blue, like I say, clear yellow, clear red, clear orange, but no clear green.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're
No,
right there. I've never noticed that. Now you've just put it out.
no, it's only because for me with
Yeah, there you
navigation
go.
lights,
Look,
so I thought,
yeah,
yeah,
52, 53 clear. Yeah, wonder
yeah,
if they'll bring it out. They're still expanding the range, to be honest. I think you've got to think the range is obviously more geared up for vehicles and
yes,
armour.
yeah,
Rather than, there is a few aircraft because the ghost greys are back in now, which haven't been in, and the light grey and the white I think are back in. If I
yeah,
remember, insignia white.
yeah. We've got the pearl white, the racing whites.
Yeah,
Take your pick, pearl clear.
yeah. So, like I say, it's all coming back in, which is nice to see. And like I say, it was really hard to get for the past couple of years. So.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's it for new arrivals. We have got some other stuff coming. We've got some Airfleet Club coming in, some Fine Molds Phantoms, which I think is for a pre-order, some Zucchimori Phantoms, but they're not the Kai ones. I think they're the C and the D. They're the Air Force ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're back in, which are due in later today, so we've got to get them in stock or sort out for who's having lot and get them up at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, like I say, we kind of discussed Armour Hobbies release, didn't we, yesterday?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again is going to be nice. Don't get us wrong. I'm saying it might be a bit niche, but you know, if it's anything like the Mustang and the Hurricanes and Wildcats, then it's going to be fantastic little kit for it anyway.
Absolutely. It will be interesting to have a look at it just from a review point of view, because as I say, there's lots of rivets on Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, they do, as far as I'm concerned, they're like the company that do it right every time. So it'd be nice to see that thing, 'cause it's absolutely covered in it.
Yeah.
So, but as you say, I'm with you. I was expecting a 0. I thought,
I
you
just
know,
thought that would have
safe
been the
money.
safe option.
Yeah, safe option. You know, if I was going to put my money down, that's where it was going to go. So for that, to do that version, which I call like the Japanese version of the Thunderbolt, it's like really nice to see it, and it's nice to see that perhaps they have gone a slightly bit left field. Instead of going the safe option, they're still playing. You know, so let's face it, we have got, you know, zeros out in various scales available. So you know, they've gone something slightly different, which is nice.
I presume you can get a dual boxing out of either a Mustang or a Wildcat with it as well.
Well, this is it. I'm expecting they'll do the Wildcat as a dual boxing with it, because that's the era, wasn't it, with it? So, but no, very nice to see it.
I think I was a bit surprised because I don't know how commonly, I don't know much about Japanese aircraft full stop really, as in usage, who had them, who used them and everything. But obviously with the previous releases, they've been able to get quite a bit out of the moulds.
Yes.
I don't know about that kit, how far
what
they can
versions
take
they
it.
are. Yeah.
Which is why I'm surprised it wasn't a 0, because obviously there is a few versions of it. It was used throughout.
Sorry.
Train
coming. Let me just mute that.
Yeah, I've got mine on loud as well, so hold on. Sorry about this. We'll edit it out. As of silencing our phones.
Yes, that's it. But no, as you say, it was a bit funny that it was only the one variety, so to speak, of that I'm aware of. But it may be that there's lots of off shots of it, you know, versions.
Yeah.
But
I've got no idea with it. Like I say, my Japanese aircraft knowledge is very limited at best. So,
but it's nice to see that as a kit being released. But at the moment, it is so quiet. You know, with everything that's going on, we know it's always the quiet time. Normally, like, you know, as you're coming up for like Q2, as we call this, for releases, it's always a little bit quieter. Then usually Q3 ramps up, you know, as we get back towards the Christmas end of things and stuff like that. But again, we've got various bits and pieces we're waiting on coming in. And you'll know what happened. We'll come on one week and it'll be everything's arrived. The warehouse is absolutely rammed.
It'll be a 2-hour show instead of trying to fill off an hour. Do you know what I mean? So, it is nature of the beast, isn't it? With this job and running the business, it's like
all or nothing.
It can be all or nothing, and you just take it, don't you? Just keep going. So I bet you're all wondering why we're surrounded by trumpeter 30-second stuff. There is a reason for this. Obviously, Phil's theme this year is "Go Big, Go Home." And we were just having a discussion of what we were actually going to talk about before we came on. And there was a few sort of candidates, but we obviously yesterday as well, was being on, Phil obviously mentioned his next, not the next build, the one after, shall we say.
Yes.
And the Sky Raider popped up, and obviously you mentioned the Skyhawk. And we thought, well, we'll discuss sort of trumpeter 30-second stuff, their bigger stuff, as it's the theme of the year.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
actually, how good a value it still is. You know, we're just looking like they do quite a range of 109s, which I know are very good solid kits, and I think they range from about 35 quid in our money, £35. I think the Sky Raider you've got there is about 80, 75, 80, which for it's a lump. That's a big lump.
Huge lump. Yeah.
You know. And then obviously got your Sky Up, which are the 3 versions of, and just in general, the old range is something that we don't stock, as in we can get it as long as obviously our suppliers have got it, but we kind of don't stock a lot of it, mainly because it's a slow seller. So obviously we've got money tied up on the and just sitting on the shelves. But you know, we can always get stuff in if people want to send us a message and ask.
Absolutely.
But
I think with them as well. Go on. Sorry.
No, carry on.
No, I was going to say, you know, that obviously sometimes if you go back sort of 10 years, Trumpeter's 30-second stuff was like the big thing, because obviously they were the only company really releasing them, and a lot of them. Let's face it, they were literally coming out every week with something. But again, for value for money, if you look at Trumpeter's stuff, like this particular version down in here, you've got, obviously it's showing the Navy one on the box, but you can also do the Air Force version. As we were saying before, which is probably the one I'm going to end up doing anyway. So, so you've got the AD6 as well as the A1H version in there, and yes, it does come with a toilet. Everyone's been asking about in that actual kit. You get all the weapons with it and everything else. So that's a big old lot of plastic, and it's a huge aircraft. It's a big old lump. And again, same with the Skyhawk. This one here, it's not showing it with the electronics hump above it, but you can do it in there as well, because it actually does come with that in the kit as well, and it is another version of. So you know, that's the nice thing with Trumpeter, they go through. We've got the tram back here as well, so you can do it as an A6E, the normal one, or you can do it with the tram with the pod underneath the chin as well. So, and it does give you both options. It's not just like it's in the box if you want to convert it yourself. It is one of the options for the builds down in there, and Trumpeter do tend to do that right the way through, unless it's a specific aircraft. Then it's a little bit different, but most of their kits, especially their earlier stuff, gave you the ability to do different versions of. And as I say, I've got a few down in here of like from my collection. So you obviously got with Skyhawk, we've got the Sky Raider, we've got an Intruder. I've obviously, as you all know, I've got but it's literally buried, so I'm not going to get it out. Is the EA6G Growler kit, which again is another great kit. I'm working on the Rebel one at the moment. I've also got the Blackjack, we've got the Hind, and then if you go back through the ones that I've actually built, you know, we've got the fantastic, and to say, you know, full detailed engines, you know, in these kits. Really, really nice. This is completely out of the box cockpit. The various things, you get all the various areas and that. And again, these are earlier kits, so you get little bits of filler jobs you're going to need, but generally they're all okay. But that's when obviously we did the Tomcat, which we did sort of nice in-flight pose and all the rest of it. But straight out of the box, nothing, because obviously we closed it all up, so there was no real point putting anything on it. But it was a great build, you know, a lot of fun to do, turned out fantastic, and they are a lot of plastic for your money. And I would build this thing, like we said before, over the Tamiya one anytime, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's just a lot more straightforward. But again, once we get down the bottom here, we can see it in the plinth here and on the wash. There's me looking young, very young.
Lineman.
That's it. But yeah, no, it is really, really nice.
I say that's got to be 10 years old.
Oh, he's over 10 years now. I've lived here now 11 years now, so it's got to be at least 11 to 12 years old now. We did that because I did it when it first got released. But again, you know, really, really nice kit, straight out of the box, nothing else to it, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, very nice. And again, you look at the Hind, which was, you know, a fantastic kit, you know, and nobody else has ever done it, which is obviously one of the bonus things to it. But again, you've got some full detailed interiors.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we did a little bit more with it. We did a bit work with the engines and stuff. And again, it came together really very, very nicely. You know? One of those kits which it was actually a dream to build all the way through. You know? So very, very nice.
You see, not necessarily a Hind, but I am tempted for my next build to do a helicopter. I think I'm torn between a helicopter and a car at the minute.
Yes.
Actually, looking at I'm with you, helicopters. I just think they're great. They're such a crossover for me. Obviously, like in armour and stuff.
Yeah.
You can weather them. You know, do get used and abused.
Yes.
they just appeal to me.
No, they are. It's say you can do some nice things with them. You treat them like armour,
Yeah,
you know,
I
for
think
your weathering and things.
the problem is the rotors, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, this rotor here lives on top of a cabinet.
Yeah.
It's I've got it flat on a box on top of the cabinet. The actual model itself's inside a cabinet, but a different cabinet. That's where the rotor system is.
Yeah.
It literally just doesn't fit, you know. But again, you know, this is probably one of the most, you know, famous
That's
kits
your
I've ever built.
build, isn't it?
But it's my favouriteest build. This thing was an absolute joy. Not only was I waiting for a long time for this kit to come out, because I did know about it long before anyone else did, but it was one of those ones that it went together really very, very nice, no problem. Again, straightforward out of the box job, and then obviously we just super detailed it all over the place, you know, and go right the way through. But generally, it was just a lot of fun. And you've got everything you need, and the details are really nice. And I know we spoke about obviously early trumpeter being a little bit clunky. You know, this kit's not, you know, obviously we've redone up here because there was a big seam line to take care of, but the riveting details, nice and fine on this one, no problem at all. And going through the motions of it, you know, getting it all together and going through the weathering and all of that, and then priming it up. And then obviously we did the engine a little bit different that a lot of people didn't know about, was, you know, in the maintenance area, hanging off the wing, which was a nice little touch with it. Which,
Do you know what? Do you know if you built that again? I don't think you could do it any better than that.
No.
And that's not insulting you by any stretch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be pushed to better yourself, wouldn't you, to redo that kit? You might think it because you've been to the oils in the weathering stage, but I think, like, obviously the build process and what you did and hanging the engines and all that bit, you couldn't really go anywhere. You couldn't really go anywhere with it again.
No, definitely not.
You know.
Yeah, that'd be one of those ones we've been speaking about, doing an old kit and redo it to see how it stacks up. As I say, I wouldn't be tackling this one because, again, I don't think it would be much different, if anything.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this one's now probably about 8 years old now.
Is it?
Yeah, one of the first ones I did in this place. So, you know, it's got to be 8 or 9 years old.
So it is knocking on a bit. I can remember you doing it. So, blimey, yeah.
So, but you know, these kits, as you say, people often, I think now, you know, when you think of 32nd, you think of perhaps, you know, Zucamori stuff. Obviously, you think of Tamiya and that. But Trumpeter have been doing this for a long time and really doing some beautiful stuff with it.
Don't you think they resurrected 32nd? Because obviously Revell was kind of the original, weren't they? I know Matchbox kind of dabbled with it a little bit, but really it was more Revell, wasn't it, that was doing 32nd, and then it kind of died a death in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And then Trumpeter obviously resurrected it early 2000s, would you say?
Yeah.
And really resurrected it as well. You know, they were, like you say, banging them out at a fair rate of knots, and good subjects as well, because like I say, he would really do a 32nd A10, and
this is it.
You know, your Intruder and some of the other subjects that they do.
Yeah,
I know. Obviously, I know people who go, well, Tamiya were doing it, but again, they only sort of dabbled in it, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did the Phantoms and stuff, and obviously the Spitfires and all that lot have come a lot later. I think was the Tomcat their original 32nd kit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's old, isn't it? That's 70s, isn't it?
Yeah, late 70s. I think
late
that was
70s,
like 78,
80s.
something like that. Yeah.
So you know, again, you've got to really thank Trumpeter, because I think they've made a bit of a renaissance of 32nd.
Yeah, definitely.
And even big stuff. I mean, like that. Again, apart from probably a vac form kit back in the day.
Yeah.
You're never going to get a big, will you, in 72nd and stuff? So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's blimey, good size of it.
This is the trouble with these big kits.
Massive.
You know, it is horrendous trying to do it, but
you need a bigger bench.
Yeah, definitely, yes. But yeah, no, they do, as I say, and then obviously Trumpeter's quite known for being reboxed. So obviously this is a Trumpeter MiG-23.
Yeah.
You know, kit and all the rest of it. And again, you know, I know obviously people complained about various bits and pieces with fitting and that, but again, this is some of their earlier stuff, 48 we were saying, but actually it's a really, once you get the basics all down in here and get going with it all, look, black glue, I haven't done that for a while.
Yeah, fell out of fashion.
Yeah, it has. But again, it's a bit of a filler queen and go through, but again, it's one of those where it's probably me being a little bit nitpicky as well. So you want to make it as perfect as you can. You know, a lot of people might think, oh, that'll do. But, you know, so I just sort of go to town with it all. But again, a lot of this was because we did it gear up and it's not really designed for it. So we had to make various parts to get it all in there, to get it go through, and, you know, re-riveting and stuff like that. And just generally into the paintwork. They make really very, very good kits. You know, that's the thing.
They're good, solid. Yeah, they are. They're good, solid kits, aren't they? I know there's obviously the accuracy issue that pops up when you read reviews and stuff. Oh, this is off, and you know, and yeah, you can't deny it. There is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometimes I think, you know, some of their. I mean, you built their MiG-21, didn't you? That was here. I don't know if you took it back.
Yeah. No, it's back here. I've just.
Is it back here? Because you did it for just metals, didn't you? And obviously you could use.
There it is.
Yeah, that one, and obviously Edard do one, don't they? But if you want a stress-free build,
yes,
you go trumpeter route because they're very well engineered.
Mm.
Even if they're off a bit accuracy-wise, they're very well engineered.
Yeah,
and I think, I don't know if it's me, but you know, lately I think they've kind of lost that a bit. They've got very complicated and very parts-heavy.
Sorry, wrong one. Yeah. No, it is, and yeah, to be honest, that's why, you know, and we're going back to what we were talking about the other day, but I had the Zucamori Sky Raider, you know, and, you know, I bought both of them. I had this one in the stash since dawn, and literally the Zucamori one got released, and I got the weapons set for it and all the goodies, and had it sat on the shelf as well. But when I was going to build it, because I've always wanted to do it, I was always going to do this one. Because it, again, was what we're talking about. It's a stress-free build. You can add to this if you wanted to, but I can't see the point of doing the Zucamori one and putting pistons in it and stuff when you're never going to see it.
Just hang on.
Know.
Sorry, I thought the door went. Sorry.
Oh, right.
Sorry. I thought it might have been a train.
But yeah, that's the thing with Trumpeter is that, you know, okay, they're not going to give you tons of photo etch. You're not going to go, oh, you know, resin. Some of them used to. Obviously, the A10 you did. You got both. You have resin engines and resin bits and pieces and photo etch, but most of it's very simple. Like here we got for the Hurricane, simple bit for harnesses and maybe some bits and pieces on their radiators and stuff. But generally you haven't got it. But what you can always do with every Trumpeter kit is go as far as you want, isn't it? That's the nice thing. Straightforward out of the box builds, no hassle.
Yeah.
And you end up with something like this. You know, and you're good to go. But if you wanted to, you can do what I've done many a time, is use it for your start point. So, you know, like the A10, for instance, that had everything thrown at it. So we had aftermarket resin parts, we had cockpits, we had, you know, you name it, it had it right the way over it. And or you can do like we did when we did the Intruder and scratch build. So, like I did, scratch built the engine bay, scratch built all the cockpity bits and pieces as well. And that's the nice thing, I think, to Trumpeter. It gives you that option where other manufacturers, Tamiya, you know, obviously Zucamori and things like that, they are quite complex kits. You get everything in there. If you want to do the full works, you've got it all there. But you are somewhat paying for all those extras that you're probably never going to see. And if you're not interested about that on your model, you're still having to pay for them because it's part of it.
I think that's I was about to say with the Zucamori one, you've got to build all the internals to build the external.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of build time that you're eating up the stuff like you say. You're not going to see. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. You know, you're on museum quality kits.
Yeah.
But again, if you're not into that and you've got to do a lot of building to get to a point where you want to get to, you've obviously a better option would obviously go for the Trumpy one. But at least there's options if you're into that. You have got both choices. So yeah.
And obviously the great thing about Trumpeter as well is their range. You know, because as I said before, they've released kits that you never thought you'd see the light of day.
Yeah.
You know, let's face it. And, you know, obviously some of them you get different versions. I think there's 3 versions of the tram. You get the tram, the E and the A. So mine's the A, the early one. But as I say, they do different versions of and things like that. But yeah, that's the nice thing to them. They've released some real stuff. I know it seems to have stopped now. 30-second wires. When was the last time we had a 30-second camera release?
It would have been the MiG-29s.
Yeah, it would have been the newish MiG-29, wasn't it? They did the A and the C.
And the UB. They did the two-seater.
Yeah, the two-seater. Yeah. But that was a few years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. Again, I think they weigh up the market, don't they? I think, like we were saying, the bigger kits are a lot slower at selling. Oh, no, actually, tell a lie. I tell you what, the P40s.
Oh, yeah.
They've released the M, I think. Some of the later P40s, so I think they're the last ones. I was just looking at the at the catalogue, shall we say, or what they do. But yeah, I mean, they've done the 30-second lightning,
Yeah.
which you can't get for love nor money. I wish you could. I wish they'd redo a good batch of them. I know it's not overly accurate, but I tell you what, when they're built, it's impressive.
Oh,
There's a lot of accuracy details, but it still looks like a lightning to me, and it's huge, isn't it? It's a big.
It is a lump.
It is a big kit. But you got to think, like you've just said, I think you nail on the head with the aftermarket stuff. You've got a good base kit where you can go whichever direction you want. So,
but talking about your ones, like I'll put you on full screen here so we can see your Messerschmitts behind you. Sorry, yeah, the 109s. I think they're really, really overlooked because you don't think of that kit. But as we said before, it's a really nice detailed kit, you know. But I think people never think. If you think of like, you know, a 30-second 109, obviously you've got Edards out there and things like that, you know.
Just thinking, these are the in-betweeny ones where like the Fs and the early Gs. It's not a G6.
Yeah.
It's not an E. They do E's and they do a G6. I think they do a G10. They do the Ks as well, the last ofs. You've got the old range, but I think the middle range is the best ones out of them all.
Yeah.
I think the early E's aren't brilliant. I think probably the Edard one would be better, or now it's in a Hobby 2000 box, the old Dragon one. And then if you're looking at a G6, obviously you've got the Revell one, but I don't think that's a bad kit. K's as well, but yeah, if you're looking for the Fs and the early G2s and things like that, then yeah, they are really, really nice kits. They're riveted. You've got a decent cockpit. Yeah, highly recommended. Obviously, the Stukas in 30-second, all different versions. You've got like obviously what you've not mentioned, but the Swordfish.
Yes.
The Mark 1 and Mark 2 Swordfish, which you built many moons ago, but is absolutely a stunning kit.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Again, the thing with the Swordfish. Yeah, I was going to say you can fold up the wings, and unfortunately mine died because it got crushed. But it was one of those ones where, as you say, it's a big lump. It's very nice. It's a big, impressive aircraft, but you can fold it up and it fits on a shelf.
Hey,
Beautiful kit.
Do you know why we're on about revisiting things? Would you revisit that?
What, a Swordfish? Yes, I would actually, because it's actually a really nice kit. You know, the only thing I did was at the time when the Swordfish got released, it got a little bit of flack because everyone was saying it was a blown up version of the Tamiya one, and that's what their thing was.
And that's a bad thing because
this is it.
The Tamiya
but what happened was some of the surface detail on the outside, it had basically. Donuts, I suppose, best way to describe it. Looked like on the outside. So, but again, I put on mine an aftermarket photo etch set. So you just cut them all off and then stuck on the aftermarket ones, which are far more in scale. And to be honest with you, that's all that kit really needed. It did need just, I think, that if you're not worried about it, obviously straight out of the box, it's no problem at all. But if if you're one of these sort of people who looks a little bit closer, you might want to do that to it, being honest. But that's literally it. And in that kit, it does come with the bracing wires.
Yes, yeah.
So it's proper solid. These are actually photo etched, so you just clip them in and away you go. You literally, it's on a line and you tap the tabs feet down, feet up, and just put them in the slots. It is a nice way of doing it. So again, if you go for like the Tamiya one, you can buy, I think it's a photo etch set for it. Tamiya actually used to do it for it, but as I say, the Trumpeter 30-second one comes with it. And again, I think they do two flavours. They do the early one and the later one.
Yeah, they do a Mark 1 and a Mark 2.
Yeah. So again, it's quite nice that they tackled something like that. Very nice.
Yeah. Again, if you go through the catalogue, there's lots of probably we call more nichey things, but interesting. I think I think we could go on and on and on, really, couldn't we, about it, to be honest?
If anybody wants to have a look at a lot of their stuff as well, because these are others that I've just thought about it, I haven't mentioned it now you've said that, but the Swordfish, you can watch the video build, it's free to watch, and also the Harriers.
Yeah, the
30-second GR7 they actually do, and obviously they do the AV8B night version and day with the radar on it and all the rest of it. So another really nice one, and of course, who can forget my Nightmare kit, which isn't a nightmare. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I won't build that kit; it's horrible." If you build their Corsair out of the box, it's not a problem. It's only because I put into it all the aftermarket. So we had an aftermarket cockpit, we had aftermarket wheelways and gun bays and everything. So nothing fitted because you got the thickness of the resin everywhere. So that's the problem I had with it. An aftermarket engine that was the wrong scale, and various things like that.
I remember the
I still get flashbacks from it.
So really, that was you created your own kind of problems. I tell you what, Jack, took it down. I've just thought of something. The Chinook. They did two versions of a 35th Chinook.
Yeah.
Don't know how available they are.
Yeah, they do the A.
I'd forgot. Yeah, the A and the D.
Yeah.
I completely forgot they did those.
And obviously, who can forget Buster?
Buster, the legend.
The legend that is Buster, which is a full video build, it is here. You can actually go up and see him. It's a very old one. It's sort of, early 2000s. But yeah, Buster, for somebody who's been through so much, I can't imagine many kits doing that.
Do you know what? For next year, I've just had an idea. I know you can edit this out if you want. But I reckon next year we ought to theme of revisit.
Yes.
And you make a list, and I'll make a list.
Yes.
Of what sort of we've built in the past and what we'd like to build again, and probably we can improve on because we've improved as modelers.
Yes.
And definitely. Actually do it, because that would be really interesting exercise. I know we mentioned it perhaps doing it as a SIG and stuff, but I reckon if you did it like you say, if you revisited Buster or the Swordfish or something, obviously you got to want to build it again.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a couple of builds over the year, I think that'd be really interesting.
It would be an interesting, like we said, because obviously, like mine is all open to see a lot of people. This is basically my back catalogue from around about 2002 onwards, or some of them anyway. And again, so you can see a lot in here. And again, we've sort of semi-revisited some of them and redone, but a lot of them we've never been near since. So it's quite interesting to go back. I must admit, I know you said about it a couple of weeks ago, but I quite fancy doing him again. We could have a side by side, Buster as was and Buster how he should be.
Well, to be honest with you, I think the Crusaders are cool looking aeroplane anyway. It's like nice and bright. It's got the old school sort of gold grey, white, and bright schemes on them, and it's not a bad kit either. Actually, it's quite a nice kit because that's got a full engine, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and it's all photo etch. I must admit, the engine's come out a long time ago, but it has got all of the vanes for the compressor blades. So when you build the engine, it's not just like first stage in the rear. You actually have a spine, and you put in all the blades and do them all. And there must be like 10 or 20 rows of blades in there, if I remember rightly. Yeah. So that's fantastic, really, for that amount of detail that technically you never see, but. It's what we did with Buster. We cut him off and did it.
Have you ever built their Corsair too?
The trouble with that is it's got some real problems. The intake is the wrong shape, and the canopy's windscreen and that is wrong as well. The front end of it's completely wrong, if we're honest. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of a failure. Was it Zacto used to do a conversion set for it?
Could have done, I don't know. Do you know what was ticking in? They had a Greek one.
Yeah, well, there you go, absolutely. Yeah, that would be fantastic for it.
Because they just batter, it's like weathering and painting, and obviously the Greek stuff does get a bit worn down, shall we say, to be polite. They're Corsairs, they are though, aren't they? And
and they're a nice scheme as well.
Would be, what a candidate, that looked just immense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you used to. I don't know if I assume it may be still available, but say it used to be you could get a new canopy for it, front windscreen, and obviously the new intake, because the intake itself it's too fat. Obviously like on here it's almost like it's very thin and sharp. Yeah. For some reason they made it's like a fat lip.
Yes.
And it just doesn't look right. It's one of those where you look at it and you're like, there's something wrong there, and it looks like it's got a fat lip. So they did, as we said before, the trouble with early Trumpeter, doing the other balance side of it, as we've said before, it was out of China. They were very, very limited on references, as in drawings and proper data. So a lot of it, I think they used to look at a photo and, try and do it off of things like that. Some of their decals, for instance, famously, they've got some spelling mistakes on them, shall we say.
Lost in translation.
Things are lost in translation as well with the decals. There was always that little bit of an issue. The Lightning originally, if I remember going back to that kit, they printed the left-hand side of it but all they did was mirror it. So
Yeah.
all the writing's back to front on the other side.
Yeah.
So consequently, it was all completely wrong. They just literally mirrored the decals for it, and obviously they're not mirrored in real life anyway. But that's because they only had a photo apparently of one side. So, you know,
What do you do?
But nowadays, obviously, the world as it is now, and obviously China's opened up a lot since the 90s, when a lot of these ones were done. It's not a problem anymore, and obviously modelers now, you know, I know a couple of people who speak directly to Trumpeter, giving them advice, and if they need any technical stuff, you know, get some photos to them and things like that. So they've come a long way. But again, I just think sometimes they get overlooked, you know, and obviously, you know, I don't know what the company names are now, but obviously Hobby Boss being a bit of a sister company. I Love Kit, whoever they are this week.
It's still.
Is it I Love Kit?
Yeah, not Merit.
Okay.
I Love Kit.
It's still that. I'm not sure. You have to keep up with all of these. But it used to be Merit and all things like that. So again, they've got a nice stable of kits. And again, like we were saying, like, you know, 24 scale, doing it now. This is a really old kit. I've had a lot of fun with this kit. Thoroughly enjoying it, you know. And again, I've had lots of fun with all of their kits over the years building them, and I can't think of one where I've actually had through the kit. Mine is the Corsair. Clearly that's a nightmare, one of the worst kits I've ever built. That's not the kit, that's me with all the aftermarket that went in it and nothing fitted. So you can't blame the kit. That's pure user error on my part.
I'm just thinking back actually with what I've built Trumpeter wise, and I think the worst one I built was the 148p 40. But I can't remember why it weren't great, if that makes sense. I mean, normally you can.
Yeah.
But I was only just coming back into the hobby anyway, and, you know, all new fangled ways of doing things. Obviously, watching you at the time, I just become a member, or I think I'd only been a member not very long of joining the forum and stuff like that. So, you know, it was a big learning curve. But yeah, we have got some bits and bobs in, but not a mass amount. But back to say, I actually fancy building that Dolphin. I like the French version of that. I'm kind of. I know you've built it, but I don't know. I'm kind of edging towards doing that. The Chinook's a bit too big. I don't think I can get one anyway. But that thing, I don't know. I always remember the Matchbox. Little 72nd Dolphin back in the 80s, I think it was, when it got thingied, and I don't know, there's something about that helicopter. I really like the shape of it.
It is. It's a cool. I can't, to be honest. I've got a load of rubbish in front of my display case, so I can't go over. But I've got the US Coast Guard version, one that I did, and again, I had a small problem with the nose going on.
Yeah, I remember.
So for some reason I couldn't get mine to go on without making a right mess. So I ended up using like a 5-minute epoxy and just literally put it on the belt sander and blended it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know, that was the thing to that. But again, really nice, good solid kit. The rest of it, no problem at all. And to be honest, it's in the display case. It's always been in there. One, it's good because it's in day glow, so it always looks good in there. But it's, as I say, it's a smart looking helicopter. Again, trouble with the rotors, they're not on it. They're up there.
That is the thing, it's rotors and stuff. But obviously it's got a crossover being 35th for me.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm still open to. I'm gonna, like saying to Phil earlier, I was just gonna have a look and see what I fancy doing for my next sort of video build. So, but helicopter or a car, I think I'm going for. I'm gonna have a bit of an armour break and figures at the minute. Just a bit of change of pace.
But again, going back to Trumpeter, you think we've got here the early MiG-21s. So we've got an F-13 version.
Yeah.
And obviously the Sabre, Super Sabre.
Yeah, the old families are Super Sabres, don't they?
All the Sabre family, yeah. And, obviously like the was it the Voodoo? Not the Voodoo, the other one. F-100 Thunder Chief.
Oh, the F-105.
F-105 Thunder Chief, yeah.
That's just, I've had that kit 3 times. I've actually got a load of aftermarket as well up on the office roof for it, and then it's huge. But I don't know, I've got a thing for the F-105. Nice. I just think it's just a cool looking aeroplane. It's just brilliant.
Obviously a lot overlooked, and I must admit I've had it in my stash and it's come and gone, is the Wellington 48th. So that's a lump. She's a nice one. But again, this is the nice thing with them. Who would have thought they would have done the old Albacore? You know? Why?
Why would you do it?
But again, they did do it.
So
they've often released kits. You often think, why? But it's great that they did. Like, it shouldn't be taken the wrong way. But again,
No.
because it's not a very well-known aircraft, but they've done it. So if you're into that era or that particular genre of sort of, torpedo bombers and things like that, then you must be their biggest
I'll
fan.
tell you what is a good kit. The H-34 helicopter, because I built the
You've done
original
Yeah.
gallery models one, I think, but obviously the Trumpy molds, I think, originally did them, and they do a whole, and that's got a full engine, full interior,
Yeah.
rotors are detailed, cockpit's really nice. That is an absolutely stunning kit. That is, and again, obviously, they did different versions of it.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's a really, really nice, really, really nice kit. There's loads of the Delta, I mean, the 72nd Delta darts, and
I was going to say, it goes on literally.
yeah, and armour-wise, you can build every
Well,
go
for your life.
62 LAVs in it and stuff.
Yeah.
There's loads. There's just tons of it. Containers that you've built.
Yeah, I've done the containers, the various things.
We are out of stock of a lot of it, but again, it's not. It's because Trumpeter's a bit of a slow seller, so it's not we can't get it. It's just we don't really carry it because of. Again, it's just having money tied up where it can go into other things. But please don't take thing of stuff that's out of stock on the site. If you message us, actually go back up a minute, because this is all where you go now. Is why it's all so. No, just down. The P-51.
Or what? This one, the British one.
You ever built that?
No. Do you know what? I tell you what, I would though. I do like the Mark III with the Spitfire type canopy on it. Yeah.
Well, obviously the Razorback. I heard the Razorback's a bit of a handful and stuff, but yeah. I like that version of the Mustang, I've got to say.
Yeah, I do. It's my favourite version of them. I know we said it before, but that's my one that I like. So
anyway, yeah.
But no, I think, as I say, that's our chat for today on Trumpeter. I think it's one of those things where sometimes they get overlooked and you forget how big they are and how much they've released and also how far they've come.
Yeah.
Let's face it, this kit here is, we were saying, 20 years old.
At least. Yeah,
at least,
like I say,
20 plus.
Go on, I've built it. I should get mine down one week and
we'll show them together.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Oh no, I don't know if I can bring it down next week. One piece. I don't know.
Get in the car.
In a box. It'd be nice to have them both together down there.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, just going back to Trumpy stuff, just before we wrap up and move on to the questions. Like I say, don't be put off if you see something and we've got it out of stock. Just send us a message. Like I said, we don't carry everything, and the bigger stuff we want to order in anyway because we really don't want to carry it. But what we are going to do is, and this is for the members, so join if you're not a member of the Flory family. The Intruder behind you, which Phil's got, that one, the Tram, we can get at a very good price. We're talking quite a bit under retail, to be honest. I'm going to put a pre-order up for it, see if any of the members are interested, and I'll order them in. I've got to order them in. And also we've got the other version of the Skyracer. It's not that version, it's the Korean War one. Again, we can get them for really quite a nice price. So we're going to put a pre-order up for the pair of them. If you fancy one, there's going to be a lead time of a few weeks. We'll let it run and then we'll order what we can in. But yeah, if you're interested, and again, if there's anything else in the 30-second range, 48, 10-second, whatever, let us know, and we'll see if we can get it in for you. We've got quite a few sort of outlets for getting Trumpy in, so somebody might stock it. But yeah, quite tempted to build a Trumpy kit myself now we've talked about that. It's funny how it gets the juices flowing, having a chat about something.
It is, yeah.
It really is, when you
go through the kit, especially the range of them, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, look, that Spitfire should be nice. So
yeah.
Good stuff. Right. Okay, let's zip into questions. Where are we? Got to find them.
There's only a couple.
There we go. There's only a couple. Keith says, hi all. Is there any update on the Rebel Mandalorian diorama kit that's due to land from a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the date of that. Like, just I don't know what quarter it's due to be released. I've not heard anything, so I'll try and do some inquiries and see when it's due. But yeah, I've heard nothing.
Yes, and also he was saying about C3PO's great great aunt,
Yes.
which is, what was it called?
Mechanic.
Metro.
Yeah. Metropolis. Yeah.
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 Again, what colours would you use for her? Difficult, but obviously there's a couple of companies who make like a liquid gold, a bit like Molotov do.
Yeah.
So probably that if I was going to do it. Or obviously you've got the buffables in gold or coppers and things like that if you wanted to do it that way.
AK do extreme gold as well, don't they? So black base and gold.
Black base and
top.
that on top. Yeah.
Big
So
scale as well. I mean, that's only just come up as a pre-order, so that's going to be later on in the year anyway. Before we see it, at least a few months.
To be honest, I might get that. I might have to do that because that'll look quite cool upstairs in my collection.
On a throne.
Yes. Gary, I will, obviously we'll gloss through this a bit, but he's basically saying about obviously the costs of Tamiya kits here in the UK compared to buying them direct and then bringing them in through import and things like that. Again, this is one of those ones where, this has come up many, many times before. And when you look at the prices of how it is and how it goes and all things like that, yes, it doesn't seem to make sense. But when you account for VAT,
Yep.
import duties,
Yep.
and things like that go on top of them and all the rest of it, and carriage and stuff like that, there isn't much actually in it. Or certainly from obviously some of the prices that we give for members as well, there isn't that much in it. It does seem that's in there, but the thing is you have to look at is the bigger picture. One is the importers got to bring it in. They are not making money. I know everyone seems to think it is the importers who are just making lots of money, but they've got to ship it. And if you know anything about containers and shipping costs and stuff like that, you'll know that that's sometimes tripled in the last 2 years. Because of it, but also it's this thing about obviously you've got the backup and service that comes of it.
I'll tell you something as well that never gets mentioned on this.
Yeah.
Exchange rates.
Yeah.
The fluctuation of exchange rates from obviously the pound to the yen.
Yes.
And back again. We've had this with Asagawa kits of how cheap they are in Japan, but obviously they manufactured in Japan. They haven't got to travel anywhere. They go in a lorry.
Yeah.
To the shops. Mm-hmm. Don't they?
Yes.
And it's same with China. Obviously, I can get trumpeter or wherever from out of China, and it's really, really cheap. But you've got to think of it's manufactured in China. If stuff was manufactured in the UK, it would probably a lot cheaper than importing it from other side of the world.
Yeah.
The container on a ship to get it in. Obviously, like you say, you've got your import duties, you've got your VAT, you've got numerous costs on top, so it does all add up. And I mean, it's if you're running the gauntlet of pulling stuff in out of Japan and out of things, and you don't get caught for customs, well then happy days. But now they're really clumping down on it, so especially the bigger stuff as well, because that's a 30-second kit he's on about, so it's going to be not exactly a scribing tool or a tool in a jiffy bag, is it? You're looking at a box here, so it is what it is, isn't it? I mean, if you've really got to be in your bonnet about it, you need to contact the importer. We've got no say on pricing. We don't. We just get a recommended RRP.
No, that's it, and we're told what price it is, and we usually do a little bit of a discount on it and try and bring it down. But at the end of the day, as you say, our hands are slightly tied. I think also the thing is to look at is that the backup. If you've got a missing part. What are you going to do? Go to the UK importer? Well, you haven't paid him for that kit in any shape or form. So why should he help out? So you should, in theory, have to go back to where you bought that. So back to, Japan? And then hopefully they'll send you the part through? Do you think they will? There
has been a lot of instances. I wouldn't say so much with Tamiya, but a lot of some other... obviously manufacturers, they've had problems with when they've got it out of such and such a place, or I've got it from here and everywhere, but it's got decals missing, it's got clear parts missing and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can't really, I think it's a real cheek to go then to the UK importer and go, I've got parts missing for this. Because they turn around and go, well, did you buy it from us, or where did you buy that from? And you go, well, why should they help you? I have to say, I do agree with that. I think that's a bit...
It is a bit cheeky.
Out of order, to be honest. But you've got to. It's not just like you say the cost price on there. You've got to add on your, like say, VAT, import duties. There's other costs on top of that you need to factor in.
And again, obviously, he's saying here that obviously he's brought his in at the various prices and all the rest of it. £28 postage, that seems very cheap on the postage. And again, that we've said before, is that a lot of, if you're buying like direct out of China, for instance, because they get subsidised postage and all the rest of it, you know, it's no way of even competing. You know, because obviously they don't pay postage in theory, or very small percentage of it, because we're all paying for it. That's what people forget. We subsidise the Chinese postal system, you know, to be able to get them out, you know. And again, it's like, I don't know, but in some ways it's very annoying, I know, because there's a big difference in price. Molly, shut up. But you know, it's that thing where it's like, you know, we can't do anything about it. You know, there's no point moaning at us. If you want to moan at it, moan at your people in Japan and ask them why they can't send it over to the importer for a massively discounted price, so it could be the same round here, you know. So, but again, you have to think they're selling to their home market. They don't have transportation costs. They haven't got all the overheads. They don't have to have, you know, there's fees that go into shipping stuff around the world that you wouldn't believe. You know, little things and paperwork and all the bureaucratic stuff that goes in. Somebody gets paid for doing all of that. Shipping, handling fees, we know, because we bring in the country since Brexit and stuff like that. There's fees everywhere these days, and yeah, it doesn't get any easier.
Just taxing it. It's a form of taxing.
It's all taxing you in one form or another. Yeah,
it's a tax one way or another, and obviously being an island, we have to have things shipped in.
About it.
You know, we have to either fly in or they get shipped in on a container. Obviously, shipping's cheaper than flying.
Yeah,
but they've got to get here one way or another. So that's what you've got to take in consideration, and obviously where they're manufactured in the world. It's not like round the corner or next door, or you know, if something's manufactured in Poland, obviously it could be driven to Germany, say next door, or you know, into Europe. But obviously it gets to France, it's got to come over on a boat to us.
Yes,
it is what it is. You know, it's pros and cons, isn't it? Living on an island.
It is. Yes.
you've got a barrier, but then obviously the barrier is, you know, you've got to get across it one way or another. So
yes.
What's she doing?
It's not. It's the window cleaners here doing the windows.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the dogs are going mental and all the rest of it.
Right.
So apologies for the editing before everyone, but yes, not good when the dogs decide to try and eat the window cleaner.
No.
So anyway, we will leave it right there then for today. As I said before, if you do want your trumpeter, it is available obviously on the site as well, so pop over to the PM site, and again, as I say, restocks are popping in and out all the time as well, so keep an eye on it and you can grab your stuff from there. Very good. Look, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Absolute pleasure. We will see you tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening, or where it might be morning, depending where you are in the world, for the live show as well. So we'll be back with you Thursday night at 7:30 to carry on.
We will.
We will. See you again then soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.